Early February, my bike was stolen from a cafe in broad daylight. A friend told me they found my bike listed on Marketplace, and sure enough, there it was. They'd stripped the stickers, saddlebags, lights, basically anything that was easy to remove and identifiable, but I could still tell it was mine. I messaged them asking if they still have it, and they say yes. We agree to meet up at a truck stop with the friend who tipped me off about the listing to look at the bike. I ask her about it. She has no idea about anything about the bike, claiming she's selling it for her son. After a few minutes of stringing her along and pretending to inspect the bike, I say, "Oh yes, this is the bike that your son stole from restaurant. I'll be taking it back now." She screams that we're robbing her, tries to create a scene, and then my friend calls the cops for real. Cops arrive, question both parties, but she avoids responsibility by feigning ignorance, although the son is arrested for grand larceny. 2 days later, the kid's father calls me. My number was listed publicly on my Facebook, and tries to talk me into dropping the charges, or because this would ruin his life and kids make mistakes. I tell him that the situation is no longer in my control, lie, and then tries to convince me to put in a good word for his son in hopes for leniency. I shut him down immediately, and he proceeds to get angry, yell at me for a bit, and threaten me if I don't do as he asks, oblivious to the fact that the conversation is recorded. I turn the recording over to the police, and Dad is arrested for intimidating a witness. The next day, the mother calls me from a blocked number and tries to talk to me, but as soon as she identifies herself, I tell her to buzz off and not call me again, or I'll be reporting her to the police as well, and she hangs up. She then contacts my wife via Facebook, sending a massive wall of text claiming that I'd ruined her son's life over nothing and how her and her children were going to be out on the street because they relied on their husband's income. My wife is now upset and thinks I took the situation too far, as do most people I've told about this, but I disagree. I don't think my actions were unreasonable. This isn't a little kid making a mistake because they don't know the difference between right and wrong. This is a nearly adult boy that stole something because he's a little bastard, and a family that not only didn't make the kid do the right thing, but willfully participated in concealing and trying to profit off of their kid's behavior. They're awful people, and I don't feel any remorse for giving such people what they deserve. Her nearly adult son comes home with a freaking bike, immediately wants to pawn it, and she doesn't ask any questions? I can't. You are not the idiot. If the kid is coming home with a stolen bike and his parents are okay with it, and even help him sell it, they have failed him as parents. My mum would have marched me up to OP's front door and made me hand it back, apologise, and probably clean his car or something. Yeah, it could ruin their lives, but they literally watched their son commit a crime and did nothing. All that happened was the consequence caught up with them, and OP dealt with it through the means available to him. Not the idiot. If they are innocent, it will come out in the investigation. Those that are guilty will get what they deserve. They ruined their own lives. The boy is very much old enough to know not to be a thief. God, even my little niece and nephews know not to steal. The dad made his own bed by threatening you, and his wife is going that way too. Also, I have a feeling this wasn't Dad's first brush with the law. You should check him out on your local judiciary case search, and you need to seriously lock down your Facebook account so these people can't find you. I think you're doing the wrong thing. Not for reporting it, but I think you should be more compassionate. I used to live in London, and I've had several bikes stolen and not recovered, so I understand how nasty that feels. But you've recovered the bike, so what are you hoping to gain? You may think that this is justice, but it's extremely disproportionate. My 27 male girlfriend Sarah, 27 sister, 40, who she is really close to, is dying. They found cancer and it's terminal and aggressive, so she has 4 years max, but more than likely 1 or 2 years. The news is extremely shocking and upsetting for me, but it's way worse for my girlfriend, obviously. She's not been working because she's doing a course and is only missing a few assignments. She sat me down and said that she was going to drop out and spend time with her sister. I told her I thought spending time with her sister was a great idea, but she needed to finish the course in the meanwhile, and then I could support both of us for a few more months instead of her getting a job right away. I make decent money, and she could spend that time with her sister. Sarah got extremely upset and said that I was a materialistic person who just didn't care or understood how upset she is, and that she will not finish her course or get a job at any stage before her sister passes away. I said I'd help her out and that she didn't need to hand in perfect assignments, just the bare minimum to pass the course. I said she could even move in with her sister short term. Sister lives alone and is divorced if she wants, and come home at the weekend. Sarah's plan of not working for the foreseeable future is dependent on me working a super stressful job with long hours and supporting her mentally and monetarily until her sister's death and potentially beyond. I've already been doing this over a year at this stage, and I was aiming to move on to a non-managerial and less paid but less stressful job mid-year because the stress is physically harming me, but I cannot do that if I'm the only one working. I was also trying to save my Christmas bonus, but she keeps showing me clothes she wants and saying, "My life is so upsetting, why can't I have these pretty clothes?" So I will buy them for her. I'm trying to be understanding because I know she must be devastated, but I also need to have an idea of when she will get a job again. Last night I sat her down and told her she needs to get a job, even just part-time, by the end of the summer. Course is finished in a few weeks, because I need to move to a less stressful job. She said my work stress cannot compare to the stress of a loved one dying and that I'm just being dramatic. She also told me she's planning a really expensive trip for whenever travel goes back to normal to blow off steam, but she has no savings, so I am expected to pay for the whole trip. It's actually a lovely idea, although super expensive. After her sister's death, she's planning to go on a trip her sister has always dreamed of going on and bring some of the ashes with her. The issue is that the trip she wants to go on is around Northern Europe countries, Norway, Iceland, etc., for 6 weeks, and she said that even though her sister's idea was of going to hostels, etc., she cannot deal with that and she wants to go to good hotels. I explained I cannot get 6 weeks off work, and even if I could, that would blow all my savings because those countries are expensive, and she basically said I was just shutting down her way of remembering her sister. I told a few people, and they said I was being dramatic and a few more years of the high-stress job will not kill me. But other friends said that my girlfriend's demands are ridiculous and that she was not planning to work even before this. Am I the idiot for telling my girlfriend she needs to get a job by the end of the summer while her sister is dying? Not the idiot. Your partner's grief, however profound, does not justify her incredible entitlement. It's sickening that she'd use her sister's condition as ammunition to manipulate you. I'm genuinely disgusted. Not the idiot. You are not responsible for funding your girlfriend's housing, food, transportation or vacation costs, and the fact that she's trying to guilt you into ignoring your own stress and overwork is unconscionable. Why not suggest to your girlfriend that she move in with her sister? It seems that's the only relationship that she's willing to put time and effort into. I'm sorry, but I'd end the relationship. I'm sorry her sis is dying, but wanting pretty clothes and vacation rather than spend the time with sis? Crazy. Those people telling you to stress yourself to being unwell, well, they can support her since it's so easy and only for a couple of years. Girlfriend needs to grow up and start supporting herself and then can save money for new clothes and vacation. You are not the idiot, OP. Please look after yourself. You also need, sadly, some friends who truly care about you. I agree totally with this. I wonder how long they've been together. That's not in the post. And it's telling the friends are saying she's never been interested in working. She's found a great excuse that makes the boyfriend question if he's an idiot for balking. Backstory. I, nearly adult girl, am a child of divorce and stuck in the middle of two feuding parents. My mom is Muslim while my dad converted from Christianity to Islam, but now converted back to being Christian, so you can imagine how challenging that was. I grew up in a fairly happy household until my dad cheated with my now stepmom, and that's when everything went downhill. My parents went to court seeking divorce, but not without nastiness from both sides. I got stuck in the middle over and over again by parents wanting me to testify. They finally divorced and my dad remarries to my stepmom, and God, it was horrible. She came with 3 boys who were all horrible to me. Now on to the issue. I wear the hijab, and in Islam there is a list of who can and can't see my hair. On that list of who can't are my stepbrothers. This has led to tension in the house. My stepmom, who is a Christian, can't seem to understand and is making backhanded remarks about me wearing the hijab all the time. This has gone as far as threatening to kick me out or saying she'll convince my father to never see me again. She is taking this as a sign that I don't like them, which is sort of true but not related to this in any way. My father is doing nothing to back me up, and at this point I'm really losing my mental health. This is not the first time she's tried to make me do something that's against my religion. She took my prayer mat away and coincidentally didn't tell me a dish she was making had pork in it. I'm so tired of the tension and constant remarks. I could just take my hijab off and save myself from so much misery, but on one hand I feel so guilty, and on the other hand I don't want to disappoint my father. You are not wrong. She's being awful and your dad is okay with that. Think about that for a minute before you worry about his feelings. He is perfectly fine with his new wife hurting his daughter. This is not going to change unless he finally stands up for you. I would talk to your mom about getting full custody and only having to see your dad alone because you're clearly not safe with his wife. You are not the idiot. You need to ask your father why he thinks his wife's behavior is appropriate. Explain to him that you are done with your stepmother's behavior, and if he doesn't take care of it, you will. The next time she starts in on you, call social services, a trusted teacher, CPS, anyone that can assist. You need to tell your mother what is going on as well. So I, female 29, have a stepsister, 30, from my dad's marriage. I'll call her Kate. A bit of context on Kate. We meet 16 years ago when our parents started dating. Kate is, and always has been, a judgmental, entitled bully. For example, when our parents got married, she had to have a white puffy dress. She had to have the biggest room and the best things growing up, and if God forbid any of us got anything from our mom or grandparents, she'd have to get better or our stuff would disappear. If she doesn't like something, she'll say it triggers her and throws a toddler-style tantrum on social media till she gets her way, but what really makes her bad is the constant shaming she does. Off the top of my head, I can think of the time she shamed me for being too thin, my brother for wanting to be a policeman, us for being religious, even her own sister for having a planned C-section. When called on it, she does the same thing, says she's just telling it how it is, then blaming everyone for picking on her. Her mom usually makes a scene about family, and Kate's amazingly honest, which apparently is something that needs to be valued. This all came to a head today when I went to the hospital yesterday and found out I was 3 months pregnant with twins. I'm not going into details about my medical history, but me getting pregnant is nothing short of a miracle. I honestly never thought with my issues I'd ever be able to carry a child. Me and my fiancé cried happy tears for hours, then excitedly posted it on Facebook. The fact that it was after midnight and April Fools didn't even cross our mind. After a few calls from family, we both turned off our phones and went to bed. I woke up this morning to what I thought would be congratulations, but Kate first blocked me, then sent her followers to all my social media to give me crap. Apparently, Kate called me out to her followers for being an inconsiderate witch for making pregnancy jokes when I should know about fertility issues, naming my private issues, and dragged me with a lot more stupid nonsense. This is where I might be the idiot. Instead of calling Kate and talking to her, I blew up. I posted my scan pic saying, "Well, Kate, as ever you have to make everything about you. I'm actually pregnant. Instead of blocking me, you should have maybe messaged me, but as ever you're vile. You took it to the internet to throw a tantrum. You're a 30-year-old woman, Kate, who lives with her mother and has an allowance from mommy too, not to mention you can't keep a relationship or friendship because dear old real Kate can't stay faithful or out of drama for too long. Hope you won't get too offended, Kate, as I'm just being real." Long story short, Kate got a lot of backlash and deleted her social media. She's cut off me, my dad, brother and her sister till she gets a public apology from us all. They call her on it too. Her mom is demanding I apologise to make peace, and Kate has been punished enough. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The trash took itself out. Close the door and change the locks. Not the idiot. Your stepmom needs to remember who she's talking to when she wants to make demands. You're not the one living in her house and mooching off her money. She doesn't get to boss you around just because she's sleeping with your dad. If stepmom wants to demand an apology, she should start with the 30-year-old child starting fights who she actually has some power over, not the 29-year adult who has her life together. Okay, you are not the idiot, but in this specific case I can see where she's coming from. You posted a pregnancy announcement on April Fool's Day. She's still totally the idiot for all the rest of it though. I had a few friends messaging asking me privately if it was an April Fool's Day joke. It kinda clicked then that I picked the worst day to announce a pregnancy. Not the idiot at all. Kate sounds like a whole lot of negativity you don't need in your life, especially because you're carrying twins, which by nature is high risk. You don't need that stress in your life at all, and Kate needs to grow up. Congrats on your babies-to-be. It's a little early for having children, but the conversation came up again because we've been together a little while. I have a history of cancer and disease in my family, although all of my grandparents are still alive. I had a benign tumour removed for something non-heritable, and my doctors and I are extra vigilant about moles. I've already had one removed, but it wasn't melanoma. Other than that, we don't really know what is heritable from my family, and I've been meaning to get genetically checked. My brothers are perfectly healthy, obligatory touch wood, and generally my health is pretty alright. Yesterday I mentioned an MRI scan I had booked to my boyfriend, who knows about my health issue, and later on, when the conversation shifted to children, he told me my genes were too poor for him to want to have children with me. I took a double take when he said this. He confessed to me that while he'd always wished me well, my family history and my poor health made him a little uncomfortable, and that he tended to avoid dating unwell girls, but I was different. He also didn't want to ruin his children that way by giving them faulty genes. He told me it was unethical for me to ever have children. I have no idea how to respond to this. I got very upset and it made me feel very poor about myself. I told him this and he apologized and tried to shift the mood and say, "That's not how I meant it." The real kicker here? His grandparents on his dad's side died when his dad was little of severe diabetes and heart-related issues, and he's meant to get checked to see if he's at risk. We are quite literally in the same boat. I'm quite stuck now. This sense of elitism that came from him and the fact that having children is very important to me, not very Gen Z of me, I know, has really put me off. He insists that's not how he meant it, but there's not much other way to interpret it, and I feel like this will always be a sore spot. Is it worth communicating with him? He doesn't seem very educated about the situation, and we're quite young. Or is this an unfixable thing? Well, after my husband and I had kids, we were diagnosed with autoimmune conditions, both. A mental health disorder or two, me, and a chronic pain condition, him. We have passed our incredibly awesome conditions down to our kids, and we feel very guilty about it. Had we known about these things beforehand, we probably wouldn't have chosen to have biological children. So I understand where he's coming from with that, but if that doesn't work for you, move on. You're so young. And in case my kid is reading this, we don't regret having you girls at all, just regret passing this crap to you. I'm going to play devil's advocate and defend your boyfriend. I understand that it hurts to hear this, but in the end he just wants his kids to be healthy. That's not being an elitist, it's just the bare minimum. Anyway, I think getting a medical checkup, both of you, is not that bad. I am a child of a genetic failure of a mother. I do sometimes resent her and think she's incredibly selfish and entitled for having kids with her trash genes. I will be child-free because I'm not a bad person. Just my perspective. Do whatever, but maybe think about the future you're going to give your child instead of just, "I want a kid." If he's comfortable saying that to you, it's because he's thought about it for a while. I don't think long-term that you guys have a future because, unfortunately, he sees you as unfit to bear his children. If you still want to have fun and nothing else is going wrong, then you should evaluate whether you still want to date him just for now. But we all know fun relationships can get in too deep after a while and you don't want to compromise your idea of a future. I'm sorry you all disagree on that and I wish you health as well. Your boyfriend was incredibly rude with how he went about it, but until you've got proof that your children will not suffer the fate of their predecessors, then yes, it's probably not the best for you to have children. Until then, get rid of the mole you call your boyfriend. You don't need somebody to chuck a tantrum and accuse you of cheating if the kid isn't an exact clone of him in your life.